Hello, I'm Mike Russell from musicradiocreative.com. Mastering just got a big upgrade with Ozone 9 now available from iZotope. Let's take a look. Okay, so I've just installed it on my computer and it's ready to go inside Adobe Audition. I'm going to take you through some of the best new features in Ozone 9. If you've watched some of my previous videos, you know I'm a bit of a fan of Ozone 8 and I've been using it for things such as podcast mastering, upping the sound of the jingles we produce at MRC, and also during live streams as well as a VST plugin inside OBS Studio. So one of the coolest new things they've done is they've broken out Match EQ into its own unit. How does that work? Well, you can take EQ from one track, could be a music track, but for voiceovers, this is going to be brilliant. You can do it with voiceovers. If you find a voiceover and you like the sound of their microphone and their style, you can copy that essentially to your style. So let me show you how this works. This is Al speaking.
On FM at 107.5.
And I say, wow, I really like Al's voice. It's crisp, it's clear, it's got a great EQ curve. I wish I could have that on my voice here.
Thanks for tuning in to this podcast.
Okay, so how do you go about doing that? Well, first of all, you go back to Al's track here. You'd go into the effects menu, go and find out in your audio units or your VSTs, Ozone 9 Match EQ. Click into that. And then you capture the reference track down here. So capture and play.
On FM at 107.5. On Dab Digital in Glasgow.
Okay, that should be enough. Stop capturing. That is Al's EQ curve. How cool is that? Now I just go into the presets, which is up here, and I add a preset, and let's call it Al MRC. So that's Al from MRC. I've got his EQ curve. It's saved into Match EQ. Now I can go back to Mike Russell and say, okay, give me the Al glitter here. So effects again, audio units, iZotope, Ozone 9 Match EQ, and then we just have to capture my EQ curve. So again, click and capture on the apply to this time, not the reference, what we want to apply it to. Boom.
Thanks for tuning in to this podcast. We love having you here.
Okay, stop. That's enough. Look at that. Look at my EQ curve compared to Al's, all right? I've got a load of bass here, muddy bass around 100 hertz, whereas Al has sorted that all out. Again, I'm missing some of these crisp, clear frequencies in the mids. We're going to fix that now. All we need to do now we've got the reference and the apply to sorted is we can apply it. Now, of course, we can change the fine tune settings. If we want to really go nuts, we can push this EQ curve up a bit or keep it. If we keep it flat, 0, nothing's going to happen to this audio. So we have to push it up a little bit to change the EQ. But as you can see, intelligently, it's doing things. So if I push it up quite an extreme amount, you can see here, it's saying, well, we need to take out around 100 hertz because Al doesn't have much of that. And Al does have quite a bit extra around the mid to high end. So let's put that, especially around here, around what I would imagine is around 8 kilohertz. Al has got a nice boost. So let's do an extreme boost. Let's do a 21% boost. And smoothing, well, how smooth do you want that EQ curve to be? I mean, right up at 100, it's just a flat line. Down here, though, it's like really detailed. So let's have, again, 22% smoothing and have a listen.
Thanks for tuning in to this podcast.
Now, obviously, the more I push this up,
Thanks for tuning in to this podcast.
the more we're getting Al's EQ curve applied to my voice. So that's my headline feature for you, because I think for the people watching my channel like yourself, if you're working with voiceover or imaging and bits like that, the amount of times I get asked, Mike, I'd like to copy the EQ or the sound that this voiceover artist has. Ozone 9. Go and get it. Try out Match EQ. You're going to love it. Right. For those of you watching for mastering tips, like for instance, you're a musician, you're mastering a track, I got some really cool news for you. You're going to love this feature. It's bringing music rebalance into Ozone 9. What do I mean by music rebalance? Well, let's have a listen to this track. It's called I'm Right Next to You. It comes from Epidemic Sound. If you ever want to grab music that you can use in your YouTube videos without copyright infringement, go to mrc.fm/music. I'm Right Next to You by Gamma Skies featuring Mia Prierman. And let's just have a listen to the track. It's cool.
Life was dull until you came.
Okay, that's cool. What would you say, though, if I said there's an mastering plugin now that can change the sound? So if you've got vocals, you want to pull them down or push them up a bit, you want to push the drums or whatever, anything in your track, you master it after the event without separating out stems. You just got a waveform like this. Yes, it's possible in Ozone 9. So again, into effects, we'll go into audio units and we'll bring in the big one, Ozone 9. Here it is. It's going to load up on my screen. Let's make sure everything's on default so we're not got anything that's too crazy going on in this preset. And then I can show you how the wonderful music rebalance works inside Ozone 9. So default settings here. Let's cross out everything and just focus on exactly what we want to be using. So I'm just getting rid of the equalizer. I'll also get rid of the maximizer, and then we'll insert music rebalance. Okay, now we can build the mastering signal chain. So here, plus to add something, master rebalance, and you're just going to love this. This is going to blow your mind. Okay, so vocals, I can either pull them out or push them up. Have a listen to how it sounds.
Life was dull until you came.
Pull the vocals out. Okay. Gone, and then push it up.
Couldn't keep my hands away. I was speechless when we first met. Yeah.
Isn't that cool? So I haven't got the separated a cappella track, but using master rebalance in Ozone 9, say if the vocals are really low in the mix and you think, oh crikey, all I've got is the waveform. Now you can just give a little vocal boost here.
Life was dull until
Obviously distorting a little bit as this track is quite loud in the mix. Let's pull that down a bit.
life was dull until
Still distorting terribly. Let's move this right down.
life was dull until
That's a bit better, isn't it?
came. I was
Now it's always going to distort because of course we're increasing by 8 dB, so we're clipping here, but we can go into the, if we had it in the effects rack, we could actually turn the output volume down a little bit. But in terms of this, I'm just going to pull this track even further down.
life was dull until you came. I was breathless.
But you get the idea of what's going on there. Let me show you some other cool stuff. Just going to boost this back up in the mix. We'll go back to the hook of the song here, somewhere around here.
Next to you, right next to you.
Okay, you can hear the drums kicking in there. So I'm going to click drums and I'm going to push them up and down with master rebalance. Let's listen to the difference. Drums completely gone. And obviously, again, a bit of distortion because we're going quite loud, but you can hear those drums come up. You can hear the real thump, 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 thump as I push the drums up. Again, it works the same with bass. Okay, that crisp sound without any bass in the mix, or minus 8 dB of the bass, or really fatten it up. Just watch those levels, all right? You really shouldn't be doing it just as a destructive effect. You should ideally be doing it in the multi-track or over here in the effects rack so you can control your output. In fact, why don't we do that? Why don't we stick Ozone 9 into that area there? Boom. Got some more effects that you're going to absolutely love. But for instance here, with the bass now, if we play this back and have the bass cranked all the way up, we can then go ahead and pull the output down like this. There we go, see? There we go. So now you're hearing and feeling the full effect of the bass without clipping down here, which is ideally what we want to do. Obviously, be really careful with master rebalance because it is going to rebalance the decibels on either the vocals, the bass, or the drums. So that's kind of how I do it over here in the effects rack. We've also got low end focus that I really love. This is a new feature in Ozone 9. Let's find it, low end focus. And this allows you to focus specifically on the bass frequencies in your audio or music track. So let's have a play here. Now, as I push it all the way up to 100% contrast, you can see how the bass is kicking in here, and you can see I've got the punchy one, so you can hear that real punchy kind of coming in from low end focus. And again, I can pull it the other way. And if you're listening particularly in headphones to this tutorial, I'm sure you'll notice the difference. Smooth, make it smoother. It's not as but it's more which is fantastic. And of course, we can audition like this by just listening like this. You can only just hear it, but again, punchy. There's the punchy boom, boom, boom. And we can turn the gain up. So there's the bass we're playing with. You can also close down the bandwidth, as it were, that we're using on the bass. So we can say, right, just below 100 hertz. Focus on that real thumpy bass, or up to 200 hertz. Again, it's very, very subtle. It's the bass end, so you're not going to hear loud stuff going on around here, but you are going to be able to do this. And obviously, I'm doing extreme settings to show you what's possible here. When you're mastering a track or using this in reality, you're not going to be cranking these up to 100%, ideally, in most scenarios. But just for the purpose of example, I'm showing you the extremities of what's possible with this fab plugin. Okay, what else have we got here? Another thing that you're going to love if you're playing with music tracks, let's just... Actually, let's get rid of the low-end focus, is the wonderful imager here. And this one, again, let's go back to the start of this. And with the imager, we are allowed to do stereo width on either the whole track, so we can push this up. Let's listen. See how the stereo imager is working away there to make the track just more stereo. And if you're listening in headphones again... right to the center at -100. And right out there in the stereo field if you're up at 100, up at the top. But it doesn't stop there because you can throw in different bands like this. Woo, boom, boom, boom. And we got all these bands. Make sure they're all switched on. And we can make the stereo width apply to different bands. Very noticeable there with band 3 and stereo eyes. Oh, this is just amazing. It's a new stereo eyes mode. Just have a listen to this. So it'll really space out a track without sort of affecting the natural feel of what you're working on. You can push this out, and there are 2 different modes. And again, it's just worth for you to play with if you're really into mastering music tracks, jingles, whatever it is, audio, music beds. This is going to breathe some real life into those tracks. So Ozone 9 is doing some good stuff. So far, we covered my headline feature personally, which is matching EQ. Absolutely fantastic. Master Rebalance, change the levels of like vocals or drum beats or bass, all without needing access to the stems of the original track. Low end focus, the image are up there on the screen right now, and I've got one more really cool feature to show you. This is awesome. I've always really enjoyed using Master Assistant, and well, that really hasn't changed with this. This is brilliant. Master Assistant has gone above and beyond now in Ozone 9. So if you know me, you know I like things done really easily. And obviously I like to tune things myself, but when you have a bit of machine learning or AI, the algorithm has been improved. Master Assistant will listen to your track, decide the parts in the EQ, loudness, any kind of peaks that it wants to change, and then it will like apply an effects rack for you, an effects chain essentially for you, that you can either tweak or say, yeah, I'm happy with that, and just go with it. Now, it used to be just the modern effects it used. Now it's got a vintage mode, so you can get all that warm tube EQ and lovely tube compression going on your tracks. So I'm going to click vintage. I'm going to say manual, but if you click reference, you can actually throw in an audio track and say, actually, I'd really like my track to sound like this track, and Master Assistant will do that for you. Let's go to manual. Let's go high intensity here, and we're going for a streaming destination online as opposed to CD mastering here. Click next. It'll expect you to play the loudest part of the track, and then Master Assistant does its thing. Now, obviously, bear in mind, this track has already been mastered, so I'm kind of remastering a mastered, but you'll get the idea. It'll analyze the audio, it'll set all the vintage EQs, it'll do all kinds of stuff, change things. If no extreme dynamic range is detected, obviously, this is mastered and quite flat. It's kind of bypassed the vintage compressor there. And finally, maximize the threshold to hit target loudness. Yes, you can hit target loudness. Podcasters will love that. Accept, and there you go. -14 LUFS here. We've got a maximizer, a vintage limiter going on there, some vintage EQ. There's kind of just a little bit of low end there, but we can push up the high end there on the vintage EQ if we want, or use high cuts, do all that, or we got low boost, low cuts, really pull that down. And of course, it's got an EQ curve there as well going on. So Master Assistant basically deciding exactly what you need to do with your tracks, your jingles, your voiceovers, even your live stream. As I've demonstrated before on my channel, you can throw a live stream through Ozone in real time, and it does a really good job of processing and mastering your audio in real time so that your audience will hear audio just exactly as you intended, with no peaks, no rogue stuff, some great EQ curves going on your overall sound. It's a fab plugin. Highly recommend you go and check it out. There are links in the description if you're interested. And let me know, out of those 5 different features that I've demonstrated, the 5 headline features really of Ozone 9, which is your favorite? Post in the comments down below.